Hey guys, this is the Tobenone UDS032, and the folks over at Tobenone sent this over to me to take a look at and share with you guys and give my thoughts on this. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so basically this is what you get in the box. So we've got our docking station, we've got a 150 watt power supply to power this and any other devices that we may plug into this, including a laptop. It can actually support powering a laptop up to a certain wattage. And of course, we've got a USB-C to C cable here so that we can connect this device to our laptop or whatever. So it's nice that all of this comes ready to go. Now, in order to actually get, let's look over here. In order to get the power supply and of course the docking station to power your host device here, your host device will need to support power delivery, basically that PD standard that you see on so many different devices, or Thunderbolt 3 or 4. Basically this works with those setups, so you need to make sure you've got the right host device, laptop, whatever, to support power delivery and that sort of thing. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the UDS032. If we flip over to the front, we've got a micro SD card or a TF flash or whatever that's called, as well as a full-size SD slot, which I appreciate. We've got a 3.5mm combo jack for headphone and microphone, so this would be great for like gaming headsets, that sort of thing. And of course, then over here we've got a little power indicator light there. Across the bottom here, we've got a pair of USB-C 3.1 ports that are flanking this USB-C or this USB-A 3.1 port. So love having all of that connectivity right there on the front. Now, if we look across like the sides and the top, there's really not much going on other than some branding. And then of course, just more information on the bottom here for you to take a look at. So you know exactly what model device you've got. On the back though, things continue to get interesting with the I/O. We've got a couple of USB 3.0 ports here for some, I think, 5 gig transfers, as well as a couple of USB 2.0 ports for, say, mice, keyboards, human interface devices, that sort of thing right here that don't need a lot of high-speed transfer. Now our next line right here is DisplayPort, HDMI 2, and HDMI 1. Now the documentation on this is kind of vague about what standards are being used, but has all three ports, basically all three of these display output ports listed as DP 1.4. But it also mentions that the DisplayPort and HDMI port support 4K 60, while the HDMI 2 port supports 4K 30. So you may have to kind of consider which of these you're going to plug into when you're plugging in multiple monitors to your setup here. Next here, we've got a barrel jack for that 150 watt power supply. We've got our host port that supports data and display and powered all of this from here to your host device, as well as a 1 gig LAN port here. Honestly, would have been happier to see a 2.5 gig LAN port here, but it is what it is. And again, you will want to make sure that your host device does support full USB-C capabilities with display and power and data and all of that kind of stuff to get the full functionality out of this device. So now with the general overview of the device out of the way, I'm going to go ahead kind of behind the scenes, get this plugged into my laptop via the host cable and get a couple of my displays over here configured to be plugged in to the back of the device here. And then we'll take a look at how easy this is to get set up. Okay, so this is kind of my jumbled mess of a setup. I've got everything plugged in back here. We've got a USB for the mouse and the keyboard over here plugged into USB 3 because I've got a DOS keyboard that I really need to dust, but it also has a USB hub back here. I've got HDMI over here on HDMI 2. I've got DisplayPort over here. I've got my power plugged in. I've got Ethernet, and I have the host cable, which is right here. And what I'm going to do is plug it in right there, like so. Now I have never plugged this in. I have not turned it on. These two devices have never been connected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to push the power button. Actually, I want to make sure. Oops. Hey, actually, before I do that, right there, right here, you can actually see that it is getting power from this cable. So we are getting power delivery, and that's awesome. So what I want to do, of course, is come over here, push the power button. It is on. We're going to give this a second to boot up. Give this just a second. Go ahead and use my finger to get logged in. Oops, didn't recognize me. Let's try that again. There we go. All right. Oops. So this this is my trackball, and it's plugged in right there. So that is actually working. I love seeing that. Got it. Wonderful. Close. Let's see if we can find some additional... That was rude. So here we are just a few minutes later, obviously still on the laptop here. I did have to swap out a cable. The cable that I had plugged in for HDMI was garbage. It's a really old skinny cable. It doesn't work very well anymore. So I've still got HDMI over here, and I've got DisplayPort over here. And over here, I've got... that is my bottom monitor. Let me see if I can zoom out of that. There we go. There's my bottom monitor, and there is my top monitor. And we can kind of see how those monitors are laid out. Now, the one thing that I've noticed is despite both of these displays being 4K, if I'm trying to run a configuration like I've got here, only one of these displays will be recognized as 4K. So this one, this bottom screen that we're on right here, this is number 3. If I come over here and I click detect, not detect, identify, that's number 3. Of course, the laptop is number 1, and then this one up here is number 2. So again, if I click identify, we can see this is number 3, and I scroll down. Right there is my resolution, and it doesn't go anything above 1080p. Of course, I can drop it way down, but again, because of this configuration, it doesn't support both of these monitors being 4K. I'm not entirely sure why, but that just happens to be how it's working for me. The only other thing I haven't tried yet is closing this and see if this gives us anything different. So now I've got display 1 and 2 over here. So let's go ahead and just line those up and click apply. And that's fine. So now we've got display 1, which I believe is going to be our top display. It is. And of course, number 2 is down here. Let's see. Okay, I can do 4K there. Click save. And now we've got 4K display on the top. Right, and then let's do, let's move this one down to the bottom again. Let's see. Again, I can't do above 1080p on that, even though the way we're plugged in here, it should be fine. Okay, guys, so it's been almost a month, or about a month anyway, since the last clip you saw in this video just a second ago. The reason for that is because after doing some troubleshooting and after swapping out wires and doing all kinds of different things, I finally reached back out to the folks at Tobenone and presented what I was running into, and they had an interesting response for me that I'd like to share with you. Okay, so here is the email that I received after I explained to Leah over at Tobenone what issues I was facing. And she just told me that regarding this device, it doesn't support 2 4K displays. When your laptop supports DisplayPort 1.4, the resolution of the first monitor is 4K 30 and the other is 1080p. When your laptop supports DisplayPort 1.2, the resolution of the dual monitor is 1080p. So, let's talk about that email for just a second. We've taken a look at several different docking stations on this channel over the last couple of years, and this is the first one that I've encountered that has multiple display outputs on it. This one has, I think, 2 HDMIs and a DisplayPort, but you can only get 4K on one of those displays, and if you try to output more than one display, you're going to get 1080p on the other display. And that doesn't make sense to me. I don't feel like a company should produce a product that has 3 display outs that only one of which will output 4K at a time. I feel like that wasn't very well thought through. I feel like most people these days, when they have a mobile workstation like a laptop like this is intended for, if they're going to take it home and plug it into their display setup, there's a really good chance that they're going to have matching displays. And it's super confusing to me as to why they decided to have one display be 4K and then the other display be 1080p. It just doesn't make sense, at least not in the sense of using this as it was originally intended. Now, this is supposed to be a docking station for somebody who works on the go, that takes their laptop with them, wants to bring their laptop home and plug in and get a couple of full-size displays. So I'm doing something a bit different with the way I'm using this. So with that little bit of a rant and explanation out of the way, let me take a quick minute to just kind of show you how I'm actually using this, because I am using it. It is a great device for how I'm using it, just not at the price point that they want for the device. So because I can't actually justify using this as a docking station with multiple monitor support and that sort of thing, it now sits right here on my desk. And basically it's a $160 to $200 USB hub or expansion hub if you wanted to go that route, right? It's got all of the ports that I need right here. Like here's my desk. This is where I spend a good chunk of my day. And this is where it sits on my desk so that I can have my flash cards, and I can have my full-size SD card and TF flash, that sort of thing. Plus have some additional USB here on the front. And then all of my IO goes here on the back. I've got my keyboard, I've got my mouse, game controller, and then power. And then this goes over to the back of that computer. And that's, I feel like this turned into an expensive expansion port hub. I feel super fortunate to have it, because like on this old case that I've had for the last few years, like these ports have just gone completely to crap on me. So having this right here in front of me is super handy, but for the price of $150 currently on sale, I think it's a big price tag to just have this be an expansion hub, because it doesn't support multiple 4K monitors simultaneously. So again, it's a great device for how I'm using it. Like I get great speeds when I'm transferring files from my flash storage. All of my connectivity works with my mouse and my keyboard and all of the stuff I've got plugged in. However, I'm not using it for any kind of display. I'm not using it for any kind of Ethernet. I'm not using it for anything other than a USB connection and a card reader on my desk, because that's the only thing I can justify using it for, because Tobenone decided to only have one 4K display output on the device for some reason. I don't know what that logic is. I guess you'd have to ask them, but that's how it's currently being used. It's not a docking station. It's just a box that has a bunch of expansion on it, so I can do additional things with my computer. For the price currently on sale at $159.99 with a list price of $269.99, I don't know if I can really justify the choices that they made. I don't know if I can justify that price with the choices they made, I guess is a better way to say that. So let me know in the comment section down below. Do you have one of these? Have you thought about getting one of these? Have you even seen this, heard of this company? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you're interested in more information about the device, of course, there will be links for that in the description, as well as a link over to Amazon if you, for whatever reason, want to pick one up for yourself. But yeah, I think with all of that said, I'm going to wrap this up. I guess I want to apologize to Tobenone for taking as long as I have to get this video out. I just really had to go through the thought process to try to justify it, and I can't. Honestly, I can't justify this kind of a device with all of those outputs, those display outputs, with only one of them supporting 4K at a time. So there's my little end of the video rant. Anyway, I want to wrap this up. I want to thank you guys for spending a few minutes of your day with me today, and I'll talk to you in the next video.